would probably take an average 1-2 grinder playing his A game over an average 25-50 grinder playing his C game any day.
You're listening to the Mindset Advantage podcast. Each week, you'll get to peek inside the greatest minds in the game and discover what makes them successful.
Mental toughness separates those that can't handle the stress.
If you're going to treat it like an amateur, you're probably going to have amateur results.
Here are your hosts, Elliot Rowe and Adrian Talonchick Rowsome.
So welcome to the Mindset Advantage podcast. We've got some big changes this week. Unfortunately, Trisha is no longer with the show. She was too busy and she's got some other projects she's working on now. So good luck to Trisha, and anyone out there who wants to follow her up, check out her website. You can see all of the things that Trisha's up to. Now replacing Trisha, we have Adrian Talonchick Rowsome. It's a row like a fight, for PokerStars Pro, who's going to come on and help me with the show. So, Adrian, you've been on the show before, but again, if you could introduce yourself to our listeners.
Hey, everybody. So, I am, as Elliot said, Adrian Rowe.
Yeah, I can't talk.
That messed up last name. But Rowsome Talonchick from Team Pro Online, and I have been a poker player since 2002 and on Team Pro Online since 2011. So, I have been familiar with the poker streets for a little while, and for the last just over a year, I have been working away on Twitch and perfecting my broadcasting voice.
Just ready for this show, wasn't it?
Exactly. You know, I've been used to being on the other side, so I'm definitely looking forward to asking some of the questions rather than having to think of answers.
Thank you so much for joining me. It's going to be a lot of fun as we do these shows. Today, we've got Rob Tinnion coming back on the show, a two-time Sunday Million winner. He's going to be coming on talking about his new project and what he's been doing in the last year since we spoke to him. So let's give Rob a call. So Rob, welcome to the show. If you could introduce yourself to our listeners.
Good to be back. I'm Rob Tinnion. Play poker online for 5-6 years. I run the largest poker backing stable for tournaments on the internet, which is poker.com. And I also run I deem to believe the best tournament strategy site as well, maxvalue.com. I'm probably more well known for winning the Sunday Million twice. And I'm probably one of the biggest winners in online MTTs in the last few years, which is also a nice feather to have in a cap.
So pretty solid time. So what's been going on since you last came on the show?
Yeah, so I came second in a Scoop 1K, this multi-day thing, for $314,000, which set my year off pretty well. I then bought a house and then went to Vegas, cashed the main event for the first time, third time lucky.
I wish I could say the same.
How many? Are you zero for how many? Or?
I think I'm 0 for 3.
0 for 3. Oh, I'm one better than you then. Training hard, working hard on max value, working hard on poker. Just basically trying to really assert our stable and my training site as sort of the leaders in the industry. Right now, we're trying to sort of take max value in the direction of making learning MTTs as easy as possible, and also offering the best backing product as possible with poker. We offer sort of, in my opinion, a far better product than other staples, as we don't just focus on, poker strategy. We focus on helping you in life, as I'm sure you're aware, Elliot, because we have you working with our guys. Yeah, that's kind of it. Just sort of rinse and repeat with trying to improve everything. And eventually I'll be moving out of poker. I'm not sure how long I've got left, but at least a year or two, and moving on to bigger and better things. As I'm not sure if I said in the previous one, I've always seen poker as a stepping stone to bigger and better things, and it sort of just lined up with my goals. Making money was, a big goal.
You can't leave us hanging there. There's bigger and better things in the world of poker?
Apparently, unless you can get a $6 billion loan and buy PokerStars, there's not much else for me in poker. Well, unless someone listening wants to give me a $6 billion loan, max value is going to be my last hurrah. And I've also started twitching as well, which is going pretty fun, meeting lots of people and hopefully spreading the word of how easy poker can be if you ignore all the bullshit out there, because there is a lot of bullshit.
And with the Twitch, how have you found that? So, being more of a public figure and answering questions as you're playing, how does that feel?
It's fun. It's like a new challenge. I like new challenges. I kind of feel like I completed the online poker challenge. Been there, done that, I've got the titles. is a new thing for me, as I'm sure Talon's aware of as well. It's quite intensive at times, having to reply to people, especially when you're starting out. You can't just sort of sit there and let the chat run itself. Whereas if you look at the streamers that have, 5,000 viewers, the chat's just there, and you can barely even keep up. But you've got to keep engaged. Also, whilst playing to a relatively high level, quite tough, and it takes its toll. Sometimes I end up having to pour a little whiskey afterwards.
and forbid you ever make a mistake, because nobody else will miss it.
Oh, it's okay. I can just talk bullshit like a lot of other people do until they stop berating me, which is easily done.
I heard you mention earlier that you've been training hard. And one of the things I was looking at your MTT Foundation is that you talk about optimal daily schedules. I was wondering if you could go into that at all for us.
I'm a big believer nowadays in sort of just structuring your day and structuring your life. I find, especially waking up, having to make any decision, any conscious decision when you wake up, usually involves going back to sleep. Like if you're left to your own devices, your body's going to say, no, let's go back to sleep. But if you have your day already planned and set up, like you know exactly what you've got to do. Like I've even got alarms on my Fitbit watch, letting me know, oh, it's 11:30, it's time for a shower, and then 11:45, it's time for a meditate. Like it's very easy when you know what you've got to do and you're not sort of left to your own devices, and you know what, I'm going to sit down and watch TV for 30 minutes, and then that 30 minutes turns into 45 minutes, then that's an hour. That's an hour wasted, which you could have spent, doing something productive elsewhere.
And what do you think that's meant for you productivity-wise over the year?
It's been absurd. I think I started my journaling late November, early December last year. Fairly new to it, but the transformation since then has been like exponential. Like a bad day nowadays, from a productivity point of view, was a good day in October. Like if I did something on a bad day, there's like I have a sort of a rating system. And if I had like a 50% sort of satisfaction or day rating, nowadays that would be like 100% a few months ago. Just having everything mapped out and all these goals and plans to meet. And like I don't always meet the goals. Sometimes I don't meet the goals. Like for example, today I had a coaching session with Ape Styles, who's I believe is coming on the show next week. Or
yeah, he's on next test.
Nice little plug for you there. I sort of budgeted 90 minutes for that, and it turned into a 3-hour session. So I can't remember what's next up. What was on my journal, because I haven't got it right in front of me. Yeah, that turned into a 3-hour session. And, it was a worthwhile sacrifice. Obviously, if I had to go pick up my mum from the dentist or something, then I probably would have ended the session. But I knew that this extra hour and a half or this extra time was going to be higher EV than whatever else I had planned. So I just continued. You can obviously course correct, as I'm sure you're aware.
That's interesting, because people are forever saying, I'm so busy, I'm so busy, I'm so busy. Mm-hmm. So have you found that has changed your time management entirely?
Yeah, I feel like I have actually more time now than before, but it's just that I'm more effective with my time. So, and this is also something I sort of take into max value is, like I preach effective studying. So, for example, in terms of studying a spot that happens like once a week or once a day, like when you get check raised on the river, you're not sure what to do, and you spend hours and hours and hours solving whether or not you should do something, and even then, you're not too sure. They might just have the nuts and you call and you lose anyway. But if you're making like a very fundamental mistake, like not reshoving enough or not open shoving, the Nash shove range, that might happen once every 5 minutes if you're playing a lot of tables. When you look at how often something happens and you're spending all your time studying something that never happens, the fundamentals are the basics for a reason. There's a reason that every top professional has all this as their solid game plan. Then they can start spending more time on the more intricate, more interesting spots. You're
actually doing more work right now than you were in October, but how do you feel your time is?
Oh yeah, my time, like I actually feel my time is much better well spent, obviously, and I feel like I have more free time as well, because I sort of, rather than having time where I'm spent going, oh God, I've got to do this, and then I don't do it, and I hate myself for not doing that. Well, maybe tomorrow, and maybe tomorrow never comes. My free time I enjoy a lot more as well, because my mind's not elsewhere thinking I should be doing this, I should be doing that. It's like right now I've budgeted an hour to eat or something, I can really enjoy it.
And I mean, it is something that really stands out, because obviously, you are a successful poker player and obviously backer and things as well. And you're putting all of this effort into improving even further. And I think that's one of the things I notice with sort of the guys who are successful. a lot of the time are still pushing the limits and doing these sorts of things. There's other guys sort of looking for reasons why they're not reaching that same level of success, and it's because they're not really happy to put in that same level of dedication.
Exactly, yeah. Like honestly, someone could give me $10 million tomorrow. I'd be happy for a few months. I'd get bored. I would get so bored after a while. I would have to find something to occupy myself in. Like, I wouldn't be just partying all the time. I would obviously party for a bit. It would just be like, oh, it's like sort of the same old thing. And then I got to find a new challenge. And I think, like I said, that's what kind of separates some of the good and great players, is they're looking for a new challenge. Like speaking to Ape Styles earlier, you hear someone like that who's literally, possibly, should I say, one of the best poker minds when it comes to MTTs especially. The way in which he talks about the game and like the conversations we have compared to the conversations I have with people that have had sort of similar success are completely different, because he just loves the game, and he's always challenging himself, trying to find new ways of solving things.
Kind of along those lines, I've seen in some of your emails that you kind of smack talk some of the top pros about their mindset and all the rest. How do you find in specific that your mindset is different from theirs, and why is yours so much better?
Well, it's going to sound weird, but the reason I think my mindset is different is because I think I suck. And I know I suck. Like, I know my biggest leaks. If you ever come away from a poker tournament thinking, wow, I played so good, or like, wow, I'm really, really good at poker, it's like you have no idea how bad you are. Like, especially in tournament poker especially, there's so much variance involved with results that, the path of a successful and an unsuccessful poker player look very similar, like depending on where you look at on like a graph, for example. Like, you're going to lose a lot, but it's what happens, when you don't lose, which is more important. And seeing sort of, you can get very lucky and win a tournament. Maybe you win the Sunday Million, for example. But usually those people are good. You can win a Sunday Million or whatever and be not very good at poker. It's what you do after that, and it's how you conduct yourself. And when you see people win something, immediately they're thrown into this sort of, they're good, they want money. And you also obviously hear cash players sort of laugh at MTT players, because they're just like, well, yeah, you want a tournament, who gives a shit? Look at Jamie Gold. I mean, I don't want to call out too many people, but I don't think Jamie Gold's been listening. So, like, for example, Jamie Gold, I imagine people regarded him as good when he won $12 million or whatever. But then what has he done since? I mean, you can really, the way to work out who the top pros are, the people that are there consistently. Like a podcast favorite, I'm sure, is Fedor Holes. And even someone like Eric Seidel. Yes, he's one of the old guard. But when you look at his results, he's consistently putting in solid results. And there's many players online, especially. This is where, this is my expertise. I'm not a live pro by any means. You see many people that crushed it really hard in 2009. And yeah, that's great. But 2009, that's a different ball game. Everyone was terrible in 2009. Everyone was terrible in 2010. Like I said, everyone's. When you look back at like a high stakes poker episode, you can watch Doug Polk's YouTube videos, and he's tearing apart people who were the then top pros at the time, who are now, someone like Tom Dwan, who I don't know if he's still playing or not, but he's sort of non-existent in these games. They just haven't stood the test of time, and that's because their processes haven't been up to scratch. And there's many people that are sort of bigged up to be these top pros who haven't made money in 5 years. And they're just, living off their reputation. There's some people selling tournaments online at like sort of a ridiculous markup just because of their name. And then I sort of just look at Sharkscope and go, you haven't made money in 5 years, but you've all of a sudden can beat these games for a higher win rate than anybody. It's a pet peeve of mine because there's many, many people out there like that. And I plan to, and I have sort of disproved a lot of them. So yeah, rant over. Next.
Is that why you're continuing to? So you mentioned, you've just had a coaching session with a coach. Is that what keeps you going back to coaching? Is that, yeah, I still feel I suck. I need to do something else. I still need to push.
Nothing in a poker is ever 100%. It's never black and white. There's always something that you can exploit in some sort of way. And whenever I'm playing a session, I don't know if you watch my Twitch stream, you'll see me marking hands quite consistently. It's very tough to mark hands and run a Twitch stream and play successful poker, but I try to get at least 20 hands a session marked, because that's 20 spots where I'm less than 100% sure that I know the answer for sure. I find when I find people that sort of say, if I say, hey, send me a spot, send me some spots where you're unsure of, and they're like, oh, I couldn't really find any. It's like, what? So you've played 10,000 hands in the last week, and you're 100% sure you played all of them perfectly. And then it's like, I don't know, maybe I'll have another look. and then again, like back to the variance side, people, they just use variance as a crutch. They're just like, oh yeah, I mean, I'm playing solid. It's just variance, man. It's like, me too. It's just very easy for them to blame someone else. And I remember specifically one horse a while ago, about a year or so ago, he was moaning and moaning and moaning. And I was just, all right, shut the fuck up. Send me a hand history and I'll go through it. First hand, I skipped towards the end, because usually when people are moaning, it's because they're making mistakes in the late stages, because they're being too tight or whatever, because they're getting close to the money. So I skipped right to the end, last 100 hands, third hand in, someone shoves 8 big blinds on the button, he folds ace jack off in the big blind. And I was just like, dude, I've been putting up with your moaning for the last week, and you're making like one of the worst folds in history. And then it turned out the guy was stealing from us, and so we cut him, and now he owes us money, and we've never heard from him again. But that work turned out pretty good for us, because we could have lost a lot more money with him.
The ups and downs of running a stable, I suppose, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've learned a very valuable lesson, and that's just like to ignore all the bullshit. If someone tells you how, it's so hard, or it's this and that, using lots of, adjectives, just like shut up and give me like results, or like give me something I can work with. If they say, hey, I'm losing, then they say it's just variance, great. But if they say, hey, like my win rate in the small blind this year is negative 35, I think I should be around negative 25, 20. Like, okay, what's your 3-bet? This is my 3-bet range. And then say, okay, great. And that's something I can work with. They just go, poor me. It's like, oh yeah, poor you.
It's different, a different type of personality, isn't it? Somebody who's looking for answers to details rather than sort of over-answering sympathy.
Yeah, a lot of people have seemed self-entitled in poker, because like poker it can be an evil game. Let's say you win $100,000 in the first game you've ever played. You're like, wow, poker's fucking easy. Let's say you win another $100,000 in the third game you played. Like, whoa, I'm quitting my job. Okay, then how does things look after that? You still have the same ability as somebody that's basically never played poker before, but now you have a $200,000 bankroll. And are you going to jump down to the 10-cent games where you belong, or the $1 games where you belong? No. You're going to jump in the 10Ks, the 25Ks, and then you're probably going to end up worse off than before. And a fun statistic for you, again, which has been one of my emails, of all lottery winners, within a few years, I believe 70% of them end up broke. So I'm a big advocate of saying winning is actually the worst thing for your poker career, because if you win, you're going to end up, with an inflated ego, a deluded sort of approach, and you can end up going broke very easily. And that's why backing exists.
The lottery studies are really astonishing.
Yeah.
Because they draw studies about happiness from lottery winners and all the rest.
There's enormous self-sabotage. I mean, I've seen it with poker players who the money changes their lives so much that they're not comfortable having the money. And that leads to gambling issues or jumping into super high stakes tournaments. And sometimes, quite clearly, they're almost trying to lose because they weren't prepared for the changes to their life that the money would create. So yeah, I mean, it's really interesting topic.
What sort of sparked my interest into that was I saw an article saying there's a 19-year-old girl who won the lottery when she was 17. She won like £1 million. And she was trying to sue the National Lottery for letting her win £1 million. This must be one of the most absurd cases ever.
And the lawyer took it on and charged her.
Probably.
That's fascinating stuff. Rob, I have a selfish question for you.
Okay.
Yeah. Almost on a weekly basis, I have a friend approach me and say, I would really like to play poker. It seems so good, so easy. I'd like to make $1,000 a month and be able to stay home with my kids, or stay home and not have to go out in the snow, as it may be. What kind of attributes are you looking for in new poker players, or poker players getting coaching? Who can do it?
I'd say basically anyone can do it. Something I think is very, very true is that everybody in the world is a winning poker player, minus one person, and that's the worst player in the world. If you're the third worst player in the world, find a heads-up game versus the second worst player in the world. And likewise, you could look at the other end of the scale. If you're the second best player in the world, don't jump into a game versus the best player in the world. And so a lot of it comes down to game selection and sort of finding a game which you can beat. And again, this is where, the whole winning lottery thing is bad. That's one of the things I focus on as well with max value. I'm trying to be able to teach poker at a very high level, but with as easy as possible. Because I'm lazy by nature. These are some of the tools that I'm coming up with. I wish I had when I was coming up through the stakes, because it's just there. It's very easy to actually understand, and I find that there's a lot of stuff that people get caught up on. Like I said, like maybe someone wants to fold kings pre-flop because they're so sure that person's got aces, but they stick it in anyway, and then they've got aces, and I knew I should have folded, and then they spend God knows how much time trying to work out if they should fold kings. But is that an accurate sort of, or is that an effective use of your time? No. Like trying to fold kings, just don't do it. If it happens, it happens, but focus on something that happens more frequently again. And focusing on the basics is again one of the key points of max value, trying to get the max value from your playing. They're the basics for a reason. They're the foundations of which your entire game will be built up on. And obviously, with a shaky foundation, your game's just going to crumble and fall.
And with that sort of in mind, how easily does it go for someone if they are looking at game selection, in today's games? Could someone go from a novice to being able to beat the very smallest stakes MTTs to make pocket money? That sort of very low level. Is that something that would be very easy following the system, or is the system designed for much higher level than that and not really applicable for absolute beginners?
Well, our level 1 fundamental system, I believe, will beat up to, I'm not sure exactly, I haven't tested it, but at least $1 games. You'll find play money games are more tougher than some of the actual real money games. There's charts that have been around for years, but some people just choose to neglect. And there's like an unbeatable strategy. You can just use that. These are free, actually. You can just go on maxvalue.com, go to resources, and download the charts. And that gives you an unbeatable strategy. So that's a part of the game you just don't even have to worry about. It's like, I don't need to worry about having what I should do with 10 good blinds in the button, because it's done. It's done for you already. So then we have like another sort of basic strategies. Again, there's going to be spots where, you shouldn't do this with this certain hand, or like you should have done something different with a hand. But as an overall strategy, applying this to your game make you at least a winning poker player. It may not be the millions that you've dreamed of, but it sets the good foundation for you to build up on top of, and then find the more intricate spots and solve those, and you move on up from there.
Some of the stuff seems to involve, some pretty high level math. Well, maybe not high level, but some pretty thoughtful math. What other things should I tell my friends that they need to work on before they jump into the poker world?
I think they need to realize that they're going to be making a lot of mistakes, and they need to sort of recognize those mistakes and so when you find a spot which you don't know what to do, which obviously as a new poker player, they're not going to understand many spots, find a way of solving that spot, as say, saving the hand and asking your friend's opinion, posting it on a forum and rather than just saying, hey, what should I do here? You should say, hey, I think this, and this, and I think this is their range, I think this is what they do with it, and I think that they should think that. And then what you do then, you say, correct, if they're right, and if they're wrong, you correct the thought process, rather than just spoon feeding them the answer and go, you should check, and then that's it. You should just try and correct the thought process and make them think about the game in a more analytical way. And always just question everything, and find the correct teacher as well.
Certainly the teacher makes a difference. That's an interesting way of thinking about things.
It's very lazy to sort of just, I still have players that play for me now that just say, hey, what do I do here? It's like, well, you could do that, or you could tell me what you think, and you might already have the right answer. But if someone's, there's so many ways to come to the right answer in poker. Like, if you were getting an ace-king, I've got an ace-king for 30 big blinds. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, but there was like a 5-bet and everything, and I think they 5-bet an ace-4 offsuit. Oh, probably not going to have ace-4 offsuit in that range when they 5-bet. And, you can sort of take it from there.
And in terms of moving on to being a teacher for max value, was that very different from just offering it to your horses, or has it just been a very similar process of now being available to the public as well?
It was tough to start. Like, as I'm sure you're aware, I've had problems with anxiety in my past, and I've got a little bit now, and I like to think so anyway. I'm worrying a lot about what if this person watches my videos. Like, I was thinking like, but what if Abe Stars watches it? And he's like, no, Rob, you shouldn't do that with that. And then I just get caught up in that sort of trap of thinking about all these things that either probably are never going to happen, or they're just imagination, and that might never happen at all, obviously. And just getting over that and sort of not trying to make like the most perfect product possible, because I could make the most perfect product possible. It may take me 5, maybe 10 years. But if I just make like a 95% perfect product in, a hundredth of the time, it's going to be far more beneficial to the user and to myself, for sure.
And when you say this wasn't a rushed product, was it, Rob? Because
no.
So how long did this take you to make your foundation?
This ended up taking us I guess we're just under a year. I think like about 10 months or something.
Yeah, so it's like I rushed it. It only took me a year.
And I went through, I was just like, because obviously, so for those who don't know, I work with Elliot once a week. And I was like, Elliot, can I just refund everything anyone's ever bought from me, and I can just end it right now? Like these are the thoughts I went through when trying to make this course, and it was a big burden. I'm very happy that it's over and done with now. But the lessons I've learned creating this course and running max value. I've told Elliot multiple times, it's like, I don't even care if this makes zero money at all. I don't care if I lose money doing this. The lessons I've learned have been so valuable, and they're going to be so valuable to me later on in life that I would do it all again, even though it was extremely painful.
That's a nice reflection to have. And so the course has been released, and remind us where people can find it.
That'll be maxvalue.com, max-value.
We'll put a link on the show page so that people can just click through. And do you want to, we'll give you a little bit of advert time here, Rob. Do you want to talk about what's actually covered in the course so people have an understanding from that side?
Yeah, so the course is very focused on not only becoming sort of a professional poker player, because there's the people that are going to be buying the course, they're going to be sort of amateurs / intermediates, or they're stagnating in their career and they're looking for the next way to go. And the course is focused on sort of becoming a professional poker player, and then more importantly, maintaining the position of being a professional poker player, because you don't want to be that guy that wins all the money, then loses it all, or wins a bit and then stagnates and breaks even. Because when you look at a lot of the top regs graphs, or quote unquote top regs, I should say, they're better off working like a dead end job a lot of the time. And especially when you consider that they're usually backed and give half of their winnings away, they're usually better off working at McDonald's. Anyway, sorry, back off of the rant on the rating. Focusing on more the processes that you should be using as a professional poker player to sort of strive for that improvement. And then basically it's everything I have done to get to the point where I am right now, minus a couple things which would have, that would have been the 10-year thing or 5-year product. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, I think you should do this in this to become a poker player, because unless I've done it, I'm not going to endorse it. I think that's a valuable thing that people sort of in all walks of business don't really take in. I think, someone like Cristiano Ronaldo advertising Pepsi, it's like, does he drink a lot of Pepsi? Oh, no. But if I drink Pepsi, do I become like Cristiano Ronaldo? Yeah, Pepsi are going to tell you that. And so I feel like me advertising or me saying anything other than what I did to get to the point of where I am would be misleading and doing injustice to my clients.
Who would you say the target market is? Who will get the most out of your course?
Well, I think, honestly, anyone would get the most out of my course, or get something out of my course, minus, probably the top 1% of 1% of players. Because no matter where you are in your career, there's always room for improvement. And unless you're already implementing basically everything that I'm preaching for you guys to do, which I would probably bet most people aren't, then you're going to find value there. It's currently $215.
How long is it?
I think about 16 hours. Might be pushing, I think it's pushing 16 hours at the end, and I'm even adding more content to it, even though Elliot keeps telling me not to add more content to it, but I am.
Blame me.
Until the end of March, there's what I call the requester section, so it's where you guys as a collective will vote what you want, or not vote, but you get to decide what you want next. So if you want me to focus more on sort of a 3-bet range, or dealing with 3 bets, then you can put it in the comment section, and those frequently requested subject will be created and released.
Yes, I mean, but I felt, that sort of length of course is fair for $215. Yeah. But if you want to keep creating stuff, Rob, so
yeah, and I just some people have told me Rob, that's so expensive or something. I was like, well, yeah, it's the cost of one buy in Sunday Million. It's literally nothing. If you think about a professional poker player, say they play $1,000 in buy-ins a game, a sort of an intermediate professional poker player or MTT player is going to spend about $1,000 in buy-ins a day. say they play 5 days a week, that's 5K a week, 52 weeks in a year or 50 weeks in a year, let's say they get 2 days off. They're going to be spending, 100 would be 500,000, 250K a year in buy-ins. And then if you, hang on, I'll just do the math on that one because my brain's not that quick. So if I do 215 divided by 500,000, I've got to increase your ROI by 0.043% in order for it to be a break-even investment for you. So when you think about that, it's basically a free roll. And honestly, this is what
I would hope you'll be a bit better than a.
yeah.
It should be an absolute guarantee, shouldn't it?
And I think I said before, I could charge $10,000 for this course, and I'd be happy with it. I'd be happy that someone's getting $10,000 worth of value, and that's just 1 year of value. And the stuff that I go through in the course is also timeless. If you implement the processes that I talk about in the course, do that for the rest of your career, we're talking 7 figures of value.
There we go. For $215. So there we have it. Salesman of the year, Rob Tinnion. Where can they find you, Rob?
Twitch is robtinnion.tv. What else have we got? I think that's it.
Let me tell you what I'm dying to know. I'm dying to know, will you be live on Twitch when you hit your $1 million in profit, Rob?
I hope so. I plan to, because I don't play without doing that. The only way I make the $1 million mark, so for those who aren't aware, I'm at $962,000 in profit, and I'm doing a sort of road to $1 million profit thing, because most people don't actually decide to tell you their profit numbers. They just rather focus on winnings. But that's another rant for another day.
Sorry, I didn't mean to go down that.
Yeah, sorry, you triggered me, Talon. Jesus. I plan to be on Twitch for that. I want to try and make a celebration thing, but I don't know how to do it. The only time I won't be on Twitch for that is if I'm on a Friday night and I go, I'll just fire up a few spinning goes, and then I win a big spinning go, but that's unlikely. And I'll probably fire up the stream for that and probably even more entertaining than usual.
We'll be cringing on that Friday night.
You'll be standing on Skype saying, Rob, turn it off now.
Stop it. Put the whiskey down. Okay, Matt. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show again. Guys, check out Rob's stuff. Genuinely, it's really good. I've had lots of good feedback from other people who I know who've been watching his videos and things. And yeah, check him out on Twitch. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me again.
Take good care, Rob. Well, I'm sold. I'm definitely going to have to get my journal out this evening and find a few minutes of time to pencil in some of my thoughts and what's gone on today.
Yeah, it's impressive stuff. I mean, I obviously speak to a lot of poker players, and Rob's definitely one of the most efficient when it comes to making the most of his time and actually following through with the homeworks we set. So other guys out there not doing homeworks I set, you're on the naughty books, but, Rob's sticking to it and he's doing well. So, there's a moral to that story. So where can people find your Twitch stream, Adrian?
Yeah, the best place to find me is definitely on Twitch. My stream, surprisingly enough, is twitch.tv/Talonchick. As of right now, I'm broadcasting on Mondays and Fridays at about 2 p.m. In between 1 and 2 p.m. Pacific I start, so between 4 and 5 p.m. Eastern. And I'm often doing kind of a morning time broadcast on Saturday mornings around 10 a.m. Pacific or 1 p.m. Eastern. So if you want to come hang out and join Team Talon, we are happy to have you. We play a lot of mixed games, a lot of 8-game, a lot of pot limit Omaha high-low split, no limit Omaha high-low split. But for a little extra spice, we toss in the odd Hold'em tournament too here and there.
So there'll be one game, I understand, at least.
There you go.
And anyone looking to find out more about me and my products, head to pokermindcoach.com. I'm actually launching an academy very soon where you can join the academy. You can get all of my products, and I'll be running 2 webinars a month as well, and having some very special guests coming on doing question and answers on those as well. So keep your eyes open for the academy that we'll be launching, hopefully by the time this comes out, in about a week from when this comes out. So keep your eyes open, and we hope to see you all in there. We'll talk to you soon. Next week, we'll be talking to Ape Stars.
You've been listening to the Mindset Advantage podcast. To get future episodes delivered to you automatically, make sure to subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, or your favorite podcasting service. To get any resources mentioned in the episode or to listen to past shows, visit pokermindcoach.com/TMA podcast. Thanks for listening.